Hello everybody, it's Josie here. I'm doing another two-book review today. So the two books that I'm reviewing are actually by the same author. So it's this one, it's Risk by Sam Skyborne and Alice by Sam Skyborne. So Sam Skyborne has written, so I believe she's also written like a kind of a sci-fi lesbian superhero book, which I might be interested in reading. But what these are kind of crime novels, so cop detective crime novels. That's kind of how they build. And they're in the same vein, or they've been built in the same vein as kind of Jenny Roberts, which I've talked about before, and I did a video on the Nicola Griffiths series on the detective out Tovington, sort of that similar sort of vibe. The kind of lesbian protagonists, detectives, mystery thriller type of stories. So the first one here, Risk, is about, so the detective is Tony, that's her name, and in this one she has a best friend, Elizabeth, who she's been best friends with all her life. And in the story, she used to be a cop, she's now a private detective, and she's asked to investigate the death of a very kind of wealthy businesswoman's wife. And she sort of gets tangled up in this mystery, and then along comes a cop. So this is set in the UK, in London. Along comes kind of a New York City cop. I'm trying to remember what her name is. Maxine, yeah. And Maxine is very out and proud, and she actually seduces Elizabeth, who is Tony's best friend, and she causes all sorts of mayhem. And she kind of gets Tony sort of also to discover her sexuality. So this book has kind of mystery, it has crime writing elements, it has kind of sex, a bit of smutty, which is good. It has all of those elements, and I actually really enjoyed reading this. Again, a real cast of queer women in this, and it's a fun read, and there's some great kind of sex scenes in it as well, if you like that. And then the next book, so this is Alice. This is kind of like the follow-up book. So you've got the same character, Tony, who is asked to investigate the disappearance of Alice, who is the wife of like a plastic surgeon, and she apparently goes missing while the plastic surgeon and her are on a trip to Cape Town in South Africa. So what appealed to me in this book was a number of things. One, because I'd read the other book, I was like, oh, I want to see what happens with Tony and that kind of story and that detective story. I liked the first one. I loved the fact that this was set in South Africa, in Cape Town. That is where I grew up in South Africa, and the whole way through this book, all the kind of places they go and that, it was so reminiscent. I loved all that. So I loved the setting. And it sounded intriguing. What I will say about this, so this is weird. I have such a mixed feeling. So I've just finished this book, and I have some kind of mixed feelings about it. So on the one hand, it's a bit of a change in tack, because most of this book is actually told, so you've got your perspective, you've got the bits where you've got Tony, and she's kind of assigned this case, and then you've got Alice and her story. And I would say 80 to almost 90% of this book is Alice's voice, is Alice's point of view, is Alice's story of, you know, how she's in Cape Town with her husband, and then what she does and what happens to her when she's in Cape Town, and the people that she meets. Again, loads of queer women, there's a couple of great sex scenes in here as well. But it's all kind of told from her perspective, and I really like that story. There wasn't a lot of Tony and Tony's voice, actually, so it's a bit of a weird one. Like, I don't know, yeah. The sort of the coming together of the stories was a bit odd, but then you do get the bit where it flips to the UK, where Tony is kind of hired to go to Cape Town to find Alice, and she goes to Cape Town. There's a couple of scenes there, but really this book is told mainly from Alice's voice. Now, this book was really on track for a 4.5 star read for me until I got to the last couple of chapters. The ending. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you what the ending is. I did not like it. I don't know why that decision was made. I think it was great up until then. I think you could have made totally different decisions with this book. I can't obviously say it without giving away the ending, but I didn't like the ending, and I knocked it down. So I knocked this down to 3.5 stars. The only reason it's still got 3.5 stars is because I really loved the story up until then. And I don't know if I'm being harsh or I'm being mean, because the rest of the story I really liked, but the ending, the way it was wrapped up, I just don't understand the reason for it, and it just didn't make any sense to me. Like, when I think about the rest of the story, I don't understand why that decision was made. So I, it really irritated me, and the more I think about it now, the more it irritated me, because I think you could have made such different decisions in those last final chapters from the decision that was made to wrap this up. I really hated it. And like I said, I mean, the only reason this still has 3.5 stars for me is because I really liked the story up until then, and I loved everything else that was happening. But then that ending, I was just like, what the hell? Why did we decide? It just makes no sense. Yeah. so sorry. So that was my rant. I don't get it. I don't understand why that decision was made. Yeah. I wasn't happy. And it sort of almost negated, like, the ending negated the whole story. Yeah, I hate it when like some TV series have done it, some books obviously do it. I just hate it when that happens. It's like, why that decision? It was so good. It was great. You could have written a perfectly good ending to it, and then you decided to almost say, like, negate your entire book. I don't get it. But up until sort of there, the book's great. Like, the storyline's interesting, it's compelling, I love the setting, I really like the characters. Why the decision was made to end it the way it was, I do not know. And like I said, the whole element of this being like another Tony mystery didn't really make that much sense, because this one, this one was like a total cool mystery thriller, detectives, cops trying to figure out what's happening. Totally made sense. Yeah, I don't get that. But there are still good reads in the sense that, like I said, up until that point, I really liked this. If you like kind of that detective story with queer women, Risk is really good. But yeah, just be warned about the ending of Alice. It's going to negate the whole book. But anyway, weird. But up until that point, really enjoyable read. And it's not a short book either. It's like 450 pages. So yeah, kind of annoyed. But other than that, yeah. So anyway, so that's my review. Like I said, if you like kind of the more detective mystery things, check out Jenny Roberts' book called Needlepoint's really good, Sent to Amsterdam, and then she has a follow-up to that. The Out Torvington series by Nicola Griffiths I really like. I'm kind of aiming to read more kind of gay detective stories, so if you have any recommendations, please let me know. Yeah, and if you've read any of these, if you read Alice, let me know what you thought of the ending. If you want me to go into the ending and do a spoiler review, I can do that, let me know. But yeah, tell me what you thought. And I will speak to you all again very soon. Have a good time. Bye-bye.